What's up, Mets fans? The Bat Fry, Kenny Fry here. Coming up on this episode of the Bat Cave, I'll be talking about the dismay that was May for the New York Mets. Whose fault was it? Who should the Mets look to potentially trade at the trade deadline? Whether the Mets are in the running for the wild card or not. And also, I'll be talking a little Darryl Strawberry. So I'll be talking about that and whatever else you guys want to comment, throw that out there, and much, much more. I'll be back in 1 minute. Good morning, New York Mets Nation, and welcome to the Bat Cave. I'm your host, the Bat Fry, Kenny Fry. I know it's not hump day. I dropped the ball again, working night shift. And so here's the issue. Here's the issue. I'm going to get this out of the way here real quick. All year, everything's been going, I do the show 10 a.m. every Wednesday. No problem, no issues. And now 2 out of the last 3 weeks, there's been issues. But why is that, you may ask? Well, the kid's finishing up school. Normally, I take my oldest daughter to the bus stop. I take my youngest daughter to the bus stop. I take the little guy to preschool. By the time I get home and settled, it's after 9 o'clock. And so 10 a.m. is not a big deal. Well, on Wednesdays, I don't have to do that right now because they're all, school's over. And I'm sitting there waiting for 10 o'clock, and it's just not coming. It's not coming fast enough. I get tired, and that's it. So I'll do better. I'm going to try to do better. It's rough. Night shift can be rough. I ain't gonna lie. It smacked me in the pecker a couple times now. All right, we got a comment here before I go ahead and kick this shindig off. Hey, our boy Yuki Matsui. What's up, Yuki? The Mets are not sitting on their hands. New guys, Torrens and Iglesias are great. Will Quintana and McNeil get DFA'd? Well, I was going to talk about that, and I don't know if I should skip ahead. I'll talk about it now. It's your comment. I'm going to talk about it now. I think Quintana 100%. I think ends up getting DFA'd. I just can't see anybody trading for the guy. What do you trade for Quintana? I mean, he's just giving up home run after home run after home run, giving up a ton of runs right now. And I don't see it getting any better than what it is now. He's later in his career, definitely, well into the back nine of his career, maybe in the last hole or two. And I don't see it turning around for Jose Quintana. So I could definitely see him getting DFA'd. Jeff McNeil, I think, is a different story. I really do. I do believe I see Jeff McNeil getting traded. I really do. One, Iglesias is playing so much better than what McNeil has in the last year and a half, basically. I granted, Iglesias, is extremely small sample size. He's a veteran. He's been around for a long time, bunch of different teams. But he brings a different kind of energy, a different kind of spark than what Jeff McNeil does. He looks more competent on defense. What Jeff McNeil is a decent defender. He's not bad. He's above average defender at second base. But at the plate, there's a certain confidence that Iglesias looks like he has that Jeff McNeil doesn't have. When you watch Iglesias at the plate, you're not thinking, okay, this idiot's going to pop up, second base, shallow right field or whatever. You're not thinking that. You're thinking, okay, he's going to put it in play. He's going to maybe he's going to leg out an infield hit, or he's going to put the ball where they're not, stuff like that. But again, small sample size. I get it. But I seriously do see Jeff McNeil getting traded. And in order for the Mets to do that, because they just signed to that contract 2 years ago, 2 years ago after the 2022 season, they're going to have to eat a portion of that contract, probably pretty big portion. And I think they'll be all right with doing that. They did it with Verlander, they did it with Scherzer, guys like that. So I won't be surprised if they trade McNeil. They eat a sizable portion of the contract, only if they get a decent return for Jeff McNeil. I don't think McNeil is this who Jeff McNeil is, but I do think Jeff McNeil needs a wake-up call. I don't think that wake-up call is going to be him sitting a 3-game set against Washington. I think it's going to be Jeff McNeil being traded away to a different organization, a different scenery, change of scenery kind of thing. And I think Jeff McNeil still has some really good baseball in him. It's just I don't think it's going to be with the New York Mets. I really don't. And I'm a Jeff McNeil guy. I like Jeff McNeil, but like all the different stuff I've been hearing, through different podcasts and reading online, that Jeff McNeil is not liked in the clubhouse or whatever. It makes me really wonder. A lot of times when there's smoke, there's fire, right? So is there issues with Jeff McNeil in the clubhouse, first off? And then they talk about Jeff McNeil constantly golfing. I don't have a problem with Jeff McNeil golfing or whatever. The same, like I don't have problems with Pete Alonso going to a Zach Bryan concert, the night before a day game. That does not bother me one bit. These are grown adults. But when it's suffering that bad, Jeff McNeil's game is that poor, and all you hear is about his golf game, raises a lot of red flags, right? What is he doing in the offseason? Is he golfing a lot when he should be working on his craft? I don't know. There's plenty of time. You hope anyway. You never know when your time is up, but he has plenty of time after his Major League Baseball career is over to golf. And there's plenty of time even in the offseason to golf, but it doesn't seem like he's putting the time in and the effort to get better at his craft, especially after last season, going from batting champ to, I think he finished like a 270 average, maybe 270 something. But for most of that season, he was below 250, and he finished really strong to get it up to 270 something. And, you think he would, put in that extra work to try to get back to being that batting champ kind of guy. And it doesn't seem like he did. It doesn't seem like, it kind of all started off really poor for him with that whole Rhys Hoskins, dirty slide and, his, perhaps a little bit of overreaction. I still think it was a dirty slide, but, 10 years ago, 15 years ago, before the Buster Posey stuff and, all that good stuff, I wouldn't have thought that. I would have thought, hey, that's a good hard slide. It is what it is. But in today's climate, today's sport, I still do think that was a dirty slide. And I still do think Rhys Hoskins was a bitch for running away and yelling when he was in the dugout behind all of his boys. Little McNeil there hollering at him. Rhys Hoskins ran away. I like Rhys Hoskins. I wanted Rhys Hoskins to be a Met, but it is what it is. All right. So moving on from there. You got Cowboy Dave checking in. What's up, Dave? How you doing, buddy? Great show last night, Dave. Dave was on with he and Paul Spencer with the 215 boys, them 215 boys, talking Dallas Cowboy football. They had Cooper Beebe's father on. They had him on for about an hour and a half last night. If you're a Cowboy fan or a football fan or a college football fan in general, go ahead and check that out from last night. They covered a lot. They covered about, Cooper with Dallas, Cooper with Kansas State, his college years, and, Cooper's up, even Cooper buying the old man a PlayStation 5. That's what I'm talking about. I can't wait till my kids get a little bit older and they buy me a PlayStation 5. That's probably the only way I'm going to get one. Freaking crazy ass expensive still. It's been out for 30 years. So great job last night, guys, on that. Be sure to check that out. And he says, let me talk to you. Yeah, that's our resident LA Knight guy right there, Cowboy Dave. Eileen, what's up, Eileen? She said, good morning. Good morning, Eileen. Thanks for checking the show. It's Thirsty Thursday. It's not hump day because I fell asleep, Eileen. I'm sorry. I said, Eileen, I don't know if you're seeing the beginning of the show. It's going to be an ongoing struggle throughout summer until the kids get back into school and I have to stay awake and all that stuff. It's going to be a struggle. I'm going to have to find different avenues to stay awake here. All right, so Mets disastrous May. The dismay in New York here. The Mets were 9-19 in May. They're 15. I think they were 15-10 in April. They go 9-19 in May. Absolutely awful. Only one series win, and that's versus St. Louis, where they won the first two games. The third game was rained out. They had a win percentage of .321 throughout May. May 1st, Mets were 15-15 and 5.5 games back. Now they're, I think, 16.5 or something like that. I'll talk standings a little bit later on. Let me double check here. They are currently 16.5 out. So they lost 11.5 games. I mean, granted, the Phillies just keep winning and winning and winning. That's a hell of a team they got going on in there in Philadelphia right now. But the Mets didn't do themselves any favors by just blowing it everywhere, blowing shit everywhere in the month of May. It was brutal. And there's so many different games that they had won that they lost with the bullpen, and then there was so many different games where the pitching pitched great, but there's just zero offense. It's like May was so frustrating. And thankfully the way June has started off so far kind of gives you a little bit of hope. But May, just the frustration of May as a Mets fan. I mean, this is all you can do is just shake your head, and you just don't know what to do. You don't know where to turn with it. You hear so many different things, and Brett Beatty gets sent down. They bring Mark Vientos up. Mark Vientos is killing the ball, but they still can't win. Christian Scott, he's brought up. He pitches well for the most part. Now he's sent back down, mostly I think maybe to monitor his big league innings. Perhaps I'm not really sure. I do expect Christian Scott to be brought back up, especially I like that earlier comment from Yuki Matsui about Jose Quintana, who I do think should be DFA'd. I do think should be DFA'd, before they even go to London. They're probably on their way to London right now. They should have sent him on a plane somewhere else to the West Coast. Maybe that way. Brought somebody else with them. I don't know, but it was ugly. May was ugly. So looking at some May stats here. I mean, look at Pete Alonso. Not great, but not overly terrible either. 234 he hit, 732 OPS, 439 slug. It was not great there in May. 4 home runs, 12 RBIs, 10 doubles, 7 walks, 24 strikeouts. But Francisco Lindor, he had a pretty decent May. After an absolutely terrible April and a rough start to May, Lindor really turned it around. He's been playing some pretty good ball the second half of May. He ended up hitting 263 in May with a 762 OPS, 4 home runs, 18 RBIs, and 9 doubles, 6 walks, 22 strikeouts. Brandon Nimmo, he hit 222. It has to be better from Nimmo. Now, granted that they're moving the lineup around a little bit. They have Nimmo batting third now. So, I mean, there's some games he looks, pretty good. There's some games like, it looks kind of rough. He has a 751 OPS throughout the month of May, 4 home runs, 11 RBI. He had 12 walks, 31 strikeouts. So the walks were decent there. The strikeouts were a lot of strikeouts. Starling Marte, he had an okay May as well. 253, 683 OPS. There's not much of a slug to speak about. His slug was 368. I like to see him take more walks. He had 2 home runs, 11 RBI, 3 doubles, 7 walks, and 24 Ks. Jeff McNeil, here's one of the biggest issues. Jeff McNeil hit 202. 202 in May. 262 on base percentage. 303 slug. That's a 565 OPS. Absolutely atrocious. Atrocious by Jeff McNeil, who was an everyday player. So it's not like, he's only getting up once every 3 days. He was an everyday player. Absolutely just, terrible. 7 walks, 13 strikeouts. Okay, so he's putting the ball in play. But like I said before, usually it's a goddamn pop-up or something like that, or just something I say to my daughter every time he come up to the place that he's going to pop it up. And usually there's somebody on, and he did show some frustration throwing a bat after the one pop-up, and so he's showing that that he cares or he's frustrated or whatever. But it's not enough for me. That's not enough. Definitely not enough. Harrison Bader, not a terrible May, 267, 726 OPS, 353 on base. 1 home run, 9 RBI. He had 5 doubles, 8 walks, 20 Ks. Brett Beatty, here's the other one. And I think between Beatty and McNeil, those were the two biggest sore spots in May. If just one of those guys hits like 250, 260, I think the Mets probably win half of those games that they lost. Maybe we're talking about instead of 9-19, maybe we're talking like 12-15 or something like that. I don't know if that math adds up or not, but the 12-16 there, that math adds up. Or maybe like a 13 and 15. Say something closer, something better. Instead of 9-19, it was just those two guys were just absolute killers in the lineup. Just it's such that bogged it down so bad. Brett Beatty hit 185 in the month of May, a 284 on base and a 338 slug for a 622 OPS. He did have 3 home runs and 7 RBIs, but 2 of those 3 home runs came in one game. 1 double. There's no extra base hits from this guy. No extra base hits from this guy. Yeah, it's been like that all season, even last season as well. 9 walks, 26 Ks. JD Martinez hit 268, 808 OPS, 5 home runs, 13 RBI, 6 doubles, 8 walks, at 32 strikeouts. And DJ Stewart has officially fallen off a cliff. Now I talked about DJ Stewart a bunch of times on the show, how he was hitting below 200 or at 200, but his on base percentage is well over 300. That's the dude's getting on. He's having good at bats. He's walking a lot. He's getting on base. So you kind of deal with the low batting average. But now, hitting 163, on base percentage 321, slug at 209. So he's not even hitting the ball really all that hard. A 530 OPS is not good enough. So I could definitely see DJ Stewart being sent down, being optioned down to AAA. He does have options in his contract, so he can be optioned down, and the Mets could bring somebody else up. Tomas Nido. I thought for Nido, it wasn't a bad month of May. 237, 626 OPS, 2 home runs, 6 RBI, 1 double, 3 walks, 14 strikeouts. He's not really known for his offense. Usually it's his defense, but he has been hitting the ball fairly decent for himself, for Tomas Nido. Maybe by other standards, not so much, but for who he is, not terrible. Much, much better than Omar Narvaez, who, if you didn't know, Omar Narvaez was DFA'd by the Mets, and I high-five myself. I'm like, yes, defensively, he was garbage this year. Offensively, he was garbage. So what do? You take garbage, you put it outside. That's it. Mark Vientos, the lone bright spot of May, kind of the back half of May there. Hit 310, 917 OPS. Again, small sample size, back half of May. 2 home runs, 6 RBI, 4 doubles, 4 walks, 10 strikeouts. So batting wise, you can kind of point to a couple spots and say, what the hell's going on here? Like I said, McNeil, DJ Stewart, Brett Beatty, those 3 guys in particular just really bogged down the lineup. Alonso, certain points, but the one thing I'll give Alonso is he was hitting a lot of balls hard. It just happened to be at people. Hitting a lot of balls hard to shortstop, turns into a lot of double plays. And I've seen quite a few double plays with Pete Alonso. I'd rather Pete Alonso hit a pop fly to the outfield than, hitting the constant double plays, just killing innings. It's an inning killer. There's quite a few games where he was an inning killer. Cowboy Dave says the Mets are off to London to play the Titans. This should be an interesting NL East match. The one saving grace for the Mets with this, the Mets are coming in hot, a sweep, right, of Washington, and not only a sweep, but that last game, Mets won 9-1 last night. So good pitching, good starting pitching. Bullpen only had to pitch 1 inning, and they held up. They didn't really give anything up. And offensively, the Mets smacked the crap out of the ball. Now, again, that's against Patrick Corbin. So take it for what it is. And, those first 2 games of the series, the first game against the Nats, I think it was the Mets just about gave up the lead there in the 9th. I think the bullpen almost gave it up. I can't remember what the final was. But then on the second game also, on Tuesday. The Mets, were up, and I don't remember what the score was there, but the final was 6-3, and I think they were up 6-3 or 6-2 going into the ninth, and the tying run actually came up to bat, so the Mets were putting runners on. The pitching was putting runners on base, and still giving Washington a chance. Thankfully we were able to squeak out of that. But like I said, last night everything seemed to click, and hopefully they can carry that over to London. But then, of course, you look at Philly. They didn't score a lot of runs against the Brewers this 3-game set, but they still swept the Brewers, the leaders in the NL Central, and they did so in dominant pitching fashion. Starting pitching and bullpen, absolute dominant for the Phillies. So the one saving grace for the Mets here is that Nola already pitched and Wheeler already pitched. So I know a little bit later on. Well, I'll do it now. The hell with it. Jump around here. The starters up next for the Mets versus Phillies. Game 1. All right, so you have Ranger Suarez. So that's not so good for the Mets. Ranger Suarez, who's 9-1, 1.70 ERA and a 0.8 WHIP against Sean Manaea, who's pitched decent for the Mets, but doesn't go deep. He's always up to 90, 95 pitches by the 4th or 5th inning. He never goes past the 5th inning. The last outing, he gave up he had a rough outing his last outing. I'm not sure what the stat line was, but I think he gave up 5-6 runs in 5 innings, I think it was, or 5 or 6 innings. But he's 3-2 with a 3.63 ERA and 1.3 WHIP. Ranger Suarez, 79 strikeouts, 16 walks. He only gave up 5 home runs in 74 innings pitched, where Sean Manaea, 57 Ks, 24 walks, and he's given up 4 home runs in 57 innings pitched. So that's a matchup in the Phillies' favor. And then, of course, the second game here, it's so if you're in London and you're watching the Batcave right now, which most Londonites do, I'm huge in the UK. If I'm buying tickets, to Game 1. Ranger Suarez versus Sean Manaea. Good pitching matchup. Could be potentially good pitching matchup. Game 2, I don't know. You know what? Maybe I would buy a ticket for Game 2 because there's bound to be a lot of offense. Jose Quintana versus Taijuan Walker. So you know what? I scratched that. Buy your tickets for Game 2 if you like offense. If you're a pitching guy, buy it for Game 1. If you're an offensive kind of guy, you want to see some home runs and a lot of runs scored, Game 2 is your ticket. Game 2 is your ticket. Jose Quintana is 1-5, 5.17 ERA, 1.39 WHIP. He has given up 11 home runs this season in 62 and 2/3 innings. And you have Taijuan Walker, former Met. He's 3-1, 5.73 ERA, 1.59 WHIP. He has given up 8 home runs in 37 and 2/3 innings pitched. So, yeah, that's where you want to go. Go to that game if you want to see a lot of runs, some dingers, and the long ball and all that good stuff. Balls being smashed, covers flying off of it and stuff. Go to that one. Eileen's laughing at me because I fell asleep yesterday. Damn it. I was pissed. I woke up. I was not happy. All right, so looking at our pitching through May. Another huge sore spot. Jose Quintana was absolutely atrocious, and he has to be DFA'd. The dude has to be let go. He's done. He's absolutely, you can't put him in the bullpen. You can't send him down to the minor leagues. He's done. The Mets have to, I wouldn't be surprised if they come back from London and they DFA him. So he was 0-3, 25 innings pitched through 5 games, 20 earned runs. 20 earned runs in 25 innings pitched, 6 home runs, 3 walks, 16 strikeouts, a 7.2 ERA. Reed Garrett out of the bullpen, who was dominant all throughout April, really had a rough May, 13 games. He did have 2 saves, 1 blown save, 0-2. He had 4 holds, 13 1/3 innings pitched, gave up 9 earned runs, 7 walks, 16 strikeouts, a 6.08 ERA. Adam Ottavino, who April, not bad. He had quite a few relief appearances that were really good. His ERA was in the low 2s, high 1s for a little bit there. And he just got obliterated in May. Through 12 games he pitched, 10 2/3 innings, 11 earned runs, 7 walks, 12 strikeouts, 9.28 ERA. He had 1 save, 1 blown save. He had 5 holds. And then here's the shot to the gut for the Mets fans. Edwin Diaz, 9 games, 9 1/3 innings pitched. He gave up 9 earned runs, 3 walks, 13 strikeouts, 4 blown saves. So he had 6 or 7 blown saves there. So you just take those, you take those saves, and that puts the Mets at 16 and 12. Right? 16 and 13. 16 and 13. If you just take those, it just like that. Bullpen is so important nowadays. One guy that has pitched well in the bullpen, Adrian Hauser, 3 relief appearances in a row with 0 earned runs. Then it's counted for 6 2/3 innings in those 3 relief appearances. He's looked pretty good in the bullpen. Keep him there. I don't want to see Adrian Hauser start anymore. Keep him in the bullpen. Luis Severino, 5 games, 29 innings pitched, 16 earned runs, 16 walks. A lot of walks for Severino. 23 strikeouts and a 4.97 ERA, kind of a rough May. Sean Manaea, 4 games, 22 innings pitched, 8 earned runs, 4 walks, 17 strikeouts, 3.27 earned run average. Pedestrian, because you look at the innings pitched. 4 games, 22 innings pitched, just a little over 5 innings pitched per game. So we've seen the return of Tyler McGill. He's pitched 3 games so far, 17 innings pitched, 6 earned runs, 6 walks, and 20 strikeouts. David Peterson, 2 games, 11 2/3 innings pitched, 12 hits, 4 earned runs, 3 walks, 5 Ks. So those guys have pitched really well. I think McGill, his last outing was a little bit rough, but for the most part, McGill has looked really, really good. David Peterson against, was it Washington? Yeah, I think it was against the Nats the other night. He pitched really good. So hopefully those 2 guys stay this way. They stay consistent. McGill's got to watch those walks, and they take those 2 rotational spots. And so we can say goodbye to Jose Quintana and who else we get? Keep Severino. Yeah, you keep Manaea. So you have Severino, Manaea, McGill, Peterson. Who the hell am I forgetting? I'm drawing a blank. So you had Christian Scott, you had Jose Budo. Those guys are both down in AAA. I don't know. I wonder if they call those guys back up. I don't know. But Hauser's in the bullpen now. But I think Severino, Manaea, I think they pitched well enough they can keep their spots in rotation right now. So we'll see what happens. Like I said, the Mets DFA'd Omar Narvaez. They sent Christian Scott down. They sent Brett Beatty down. Brett Beatty, he goes down first game down in Syracuse, hits 2 home runs. So they called him back up for the London trip, so he's on his way to London with the Mets. With this series here, the Major League Baseball is allowing both teams, the Mets and Phillies, to carry 27 active players on the roster. So the Mets are taking Brett Beatty there just in case they need to swap out. And that 27th player has to be a position player. It can't be a pitcher. But they're also taking Cole Sulser and a third string, I guess you'd say, third string catcher, just in case, something happens with the catchers. You never know. And, of course, the relief pitcher, if they have to switch out an arm, because they're too far away. They're in London. They can't just call Syracuse, hey, send us over an arm or whatever. It's not going to happen. All right. So moving on from there, who do I think the Mets should look to trade? With June started here. That means July is not that far off, which means the trade deadline's not that far off. It's basically 2 months away. You got all of June. The trade deadline is usually the end of July. I'm not sure the exact date right now when it is, but it's usually the end of July, somewhere around there. So basically, you have 2 months here. 2 months to get it figured out. The Mets could use this whole month. What do we got going for us? What do we not got going for us? And after that month, where are we at? Right now, they're sitting, I think it's 4 games out of the wild card. Striking distance, absolutely striking distance. So they're not out of anything yet. The NL East, yes, they're out of the NL East. Absolutely, 100% out of the NL East, no doubt. But if the wild card race, 100% in, all in on that. So who should they look to trade? And the way I'm looking at this is, even if the Mets are 1, 2, 3, 4 games out of the wild card, around 500, ball or whatever, I still think that they should sell at the trade deadline. It's kind of like a addition by subtraction. And so what I mean by that is, sell some of these older guys, the guys that aren't performing, for prospects, but also call up your prospects that could help you in the now. I mean, you could call up a Luis Angel Acuna or Jet Williams is hurt. I'm pretty sure Jet Williams is still hurt, but you can call up guys like that right now, and they're going to be better than Jeff McNeil. So I don't see what it hurts to call those guys up. Drew Gilbert, I'm not sure what his health status is either. Well, say Starling Marte, who's playing decent ball right now, and you could probably get a decent haul for him. But again, the contract is kind of rough. The Mets will have to eat a portion of that contract, especially with his age. So it's going to be interesting to see what they do. But I think they should trade Starling Marte and look, younger. Maybe even Tyrone Taylor as well. Jeff McNeil. That's another one with a contract issue there. I do believe, out of all these guys I'm going to mention, I do believe 100% they should look to trade Jeff McNeil. 100%. And so I think they should look to trade him. And you look towards the future with that. Whether it's not this year or next year. Luis Angel Acuna, Jet Williams, or even the cat that's hurt. I can't think of his name right now. I knew I should have wrote it down. I can't think of it. Torn ACL. I'm going to look it up. Crap. I can't think of it right now. Anyway, it doesn't matter. You know who I'm talking about, Mets fan. You know who the hell I'm talking about. I'm not going to get into it. But I can't believe I can't remember his name. It's irritating me. Jose Quintana, he should be DFA'd. He should not be traded unless they're going to trade him to Philly. If they could find a way to trade him to Philly, and I don't care what they get for him, trade him to Philly. Yeah, just like Taijuan Walker. Taijuan Walker is like our secret agent over there, trying to bring the Phillies down within, but it's not working so far. He's playing not great, but the rest of the team is playing awesome. So, Sean Manaea, that's somebody I'm kind of on the fence. He's pitched, well. Doesn't give you a lot of innings. Do you trade him in hopes of getting something? We do have, quite a few arms that are probably pretty close to coming up in the rotation now. Do we make room for them, or Joey Lucchesi? Do we look to trade Joey Lucchesi? Perhaps. I like Joey Lucchesi. I want to see him come back up and get a shot for the rest of the season, but I don't know if that's going to happen. Same thing with Jose Budo. I think Jose Budo should be called up. You got to call these guys up. You got to make room for them, right? Pete Alonso. That's a tough one for me. Pete Alonso. The only way you trade Pete Alonso, in my opinion, the only way you trade Pete Alonso is if you are going to be 100% in on Pete Alonso in the offseason. It doesn't even make any sense. When I say it out loud, it doesn't make sense. But I don't know. If you tell Pete Alonso, we're trading you. We're going to trade you away. We're going to see what we can get for you. But we're still coming after you in the offseason, bringing you back home. I'm fine with that. Trading Pete Alonso with no intentions of re-signing him, I'm not okay with. Not having any intentions to sign Pete Alonso at all, period, I'm not okay with. I think they should re-sign Pete Alonso. I do think he's I don't know if I'd say a Hall of Famer. No, I don't go that far yet. He has quite a few years to go yet before he's at that point. But still, hitting 250, 40 home runs, 100 RBI every year. At least that's what we're hoping. I hope 250 would be nice, to be honest with you. But the power numbers are going to be there. The run production is a little bit down right now, but the power numbers are there. They're going to be there. And I just think they should re-sign Pete Alonso. I don't think they should trade him away. I think they should re-sign him and that would just be done with it. But if there's a possibility you could lose him, you almost owe it to yourself to see what you could get for him. Now, I mean, they should pull the trigger on a trade, but kind of float him out there. Say, hey, what are you going to give me for Pete Alonso? That's a 2-month, 3-month rental. Maybe see what you can get. Maybe you owe it to yourself. I don't know. JD Martinez, I do believe he'll probably get traded just because it's 1-year contract. He could bring in a couple prospects, and it makes a little bit more room. If Mark Vientos is going to stay up, which all fingers point to yes, he's been phenomenal since he's been up this time. Do you move him to DH? I thought he'd been playing a pretty decent third base. I seen him make a couple plays, strong arm, good range. Who's to say that he should go DH? Maybe he should stay at third base. Do you call Brett Beatty up and put him at DH? Just for the at bats. The one thing I don't like about the whole Beatty and Vientos thing is that they're specialized. Vientos good against lefties, not against righties. Beatty good against righties, not against. How about we just be good against both? I don't understand. I get it that it's not always going to work out like that, but I mean, I don't know. It's hard for me to explain. I just don't remember all the years watching baseball. These last few years, it seems like everybody's being specialized. Now, I guess it's a big part of analytics. If you're hitting 300 against left-handers, but you're hitting 190 against right-handers, okay, you want somebody in there that's going to hit right-handers, better. But if you're not getting all those opportunities to see the right-handers, yeah, you're going to suck against right-handers. I think you should be just left in there. This is your starter. This is your lineup. This go. Okay. I don't think it should be, who's on the mound? Righty, lefty. Okay. Leave him in. Let these guys see the right-handed pitchers, the left-handed pitchers, and try to get better against them. These are their professional hitters, professional baseball players. They should be able to handle left-handed pitching, right-handed pitching, and so on and so on. That stuff, I can't stand the specialized. Bullpen's always been like that, and I get that. And the reason bullpens were like that and are like that is because of the hitters that are good at one pitcher, but not the other pitcher, the other armed pitcher. So, whatever. It's my thought on it anyway. I hate it. But do you also Pete Alonso? Do you see him at DH if you trade JD Martinez away? I don't think you could trade Pete Alonso and JD Martinez away. That would just absolutely starve your lineup unless you're just saying, you know what, we're done for 2024. Or pulling back, big fire sale with a bunch of veterans gone, and dropping back and punting till 2025, 2026. That's the only way I can see both those guys gone, but it's going to be one or the other. And I think it's more likely JD Martinez than it is Pete Alonso. And I do think we could get a good prospect for JD Martinez. There's going to be a team out there that's going to be desperate for a big DH bat in the middle of their lineup, and JD Martinez is going to fit that mold for some team out there. Cowboy Dave has a comment. Sunday's game is at 10 a.m. I'll be asleep. I work this weekend. I'm going to fall asleep. That'll be it. It's going to be a rough weekend. Not because I work this weekend. That is what it is. My daughter's also playing in a softball tournament out past Philly in New Jersey, Delaware area, southern Jersey. And I have to decide on Saturday if I want to sleep or go watch a couple of her games. And if I do that, it's going to be a long night Saturday night, which means it's going to be a long day of sleeping on Sunday, which means I'll miss all of her games on Sunday. So I don't know. Got to pay them bills though, right? All right. One positive note here, Francisco Alvarez. He's been rehabbing, healing up real quick. So there's a potential we could see him back in a a couple weeks, 2 weeks maybe. So he caught for Brooklyn, I think it was 2 nights ago, and he actually caught a no-hitter. So there we go. I think currently he is with, was it Brooklyn or I don't think he's with, is he with Syracuse? But he's supposed to catch, I think, this Friday and this Saturday, both 9-inning games. See how the thumbs holds up to the constant pounding for Major League pitching, and go from there and see how his hitting is. So hopefully we get him back in a week or two, and we get our spark plug back. He's the dude is a spark plug, a ball of energy. Just one of those guys that can really pick a clubhouse up. He's like a breath of fresh air, and or spark. They go a spark. That's the word I'm looking for. A spark. All right. So moving on from there, up next for the Mets, I guess I mentioned before, the London series here versus Philly. First game, I believe the Mets will be the home team. Ranger Suarez versus Shamanaya. I mentioned the stats earlier. Second game, game 2. Jose Quintana versus Taijuan Walker. I mentioned those absolutely god-awful stats. Then when they get back, they start a 3-game set versus the Marlins on next Tuesday. So there's that. Looking at the NL East standings, the Phillies are sitting up top, 44-19. Run differential of plus 104. Last 10, they're 6-4. They've won 3 in a row. Atlanta, 34-25, 8 games out, a run differential of plus 36. They're sitting 5-5 their last 10. They lost 1. A losing streak of 1, if that makes any sense. Washington at 27-34, 16 games out, negative 25 run differential, 4-6 in their last 10, losers of 3 in a row. The New York Mets, 27-35, 16 and a half out, negative 29 run differential, 5-5 in the last 10, a win streak of 3. And the Miami Marlins, 21-41, 22 and a half games out, negative 88 run differential, 3-7 in their last 10, losers of their last 4. So if let's say the Mets split with Philly, it would be a terrific outcome, I think, for the Mets. Then they start a 3-game set with the Marlins. If they can go ahead and, sweep the Marlins just like they did to the Nationals, I feel like the Mets could be feeling really good about themselves and really making a little bit of headway here back towards the positive, towards 500. So the way the wild card's sitting right now, you have Atlanta leading the wild card for that number 1 spot, 34-25. They're 5 games up on a number 2 wild card team, the Chicago Cubs, who are 31-31. They're a half game up of the final wild card spot, San Diego Padres, who are 32-33. St. Louis is 29-31, a half game out of that final spot. San Francisco's 30-33, 1 game out. Pittsburgh's 29-32, 1 game out. Arizona's 29-33, 1.5 out. That Arizona series hurt us so bad. It hurt so bad. The Mets win the first 2 games. I think they had the lead. Definitely game 3. Game 4, I don't remember. But they had a chance to win that series, and they let it slip through their fingers. So tough there. Arizona 29-33, 1.5 out. Cincinnati 29-33, 1.5 out. Washington 27-34, 3 out. And the Mets 27-35, 3.5 out. So 3.5, 4 games out of the wild card. Absolutely doable, 100% doable, especially you look at all these other teams. San Diego's sitting around 500, and everybody else below that under. So, the Cubs, the second wild card team, at 500. The Mets, they're not out of it, and they're not going to be out of it for a while. So Good stuff. All right. So moving on to my final topic here for the Mets, for the Bat Cave. The Mets retired Darryl Strawberry's number 18 the other day. Darryl was a 7-time All-Star with the Mets, 8 times overall. He played with the Mets, the Dodgers, the Giants, and the Yanks. Overall, his career, he hit 259, 335 home runs, 1,000 RBI, 221 stolen bases in 17 seasons. He had back-to-back 39 home run seasons for the Mets in 87 and 88. He's the New York Mets all-time home run leader at 252. With the Mets, he hit 257 with an 848 OPS. That's a 336 on base and a 512 slug. 26 home runs. I'm sorry. Okay. I'm sorry. I misread this. In 1983, the Rookie of the Year season, that's what I meant. 257, 336 on base, 512 slug for an 848 OPS, 26 home runs in his 1983 Rookie of the Year season. He was the NL MVP runner-up in 1988. He was runner-up to Kirk Gibson of the Dodgers. And he's second in Mets history in RBI with 773 and also with walks at 580. He's third in Mets history, runs scored 662, and extra base hits 469. And his overall slash line career-wise for the Mets was 263 batting average, a 359 on base, a 520 slug for an 879 OPS. And he averaged about 32 home runs a season while with the Mets. Darryl Strawberry, great player. I was sad to see him leave when I was a little kid there. Yeah, I just started really liking the Mets. You know, Darryl Strawberry wasn't my favorite player. Howard Johnson was at that time. And but as a Mets fan, you love Darryl Strawberry. You know, he had some issues there with some substance abuse issues. Doc Gooden, had some terrific seasons with the Mets, but only got that one World Series in 1986. You know, they really had an opportunity in '88. Had a really good team, but fell short. And it's a bummer the way his career went downhill, the way it did. He could have been an absolute all-time great. I mean, his name is, you know, you hear Darryl Strawberry, you think, greatness, and then you kind of look at the numbers, and pretty good numbers, but they could have been a lot better if he would have stayed healthy, stayed off the whatever substance of choice he was on. I don't know, ecstasy, Molly, I don't know. I don't know what he was into. Cocaine, it was a big thing in the 80s, so maybe it was cocaine. I don't know. I'm sure that's probably what it was. And it's a shame. It really is. But he still had a great career with the Mets. Gets his number retired. Other numbers retired with the Mets. You have, of course, Jackie Robinson, Tom Seaver, Gil Hodges, Keith Hernandez, Willie Mays, Doc Gooden, Mike Piazza. There's Darryl Strawberry. Who the hell am I missing here? Jerry Koosman. That's another one. Casey Stengel. That's one I'm missing there. Casey Stengel as well. And so name up there with the Mets. So that brings me to my last topic here. And the lad on the Locked On Mets podcast, I can't think of his name. Ryan Finkelstein, I think it is, or something like that. I always forget his name. Who is the next Met to have his number retired? Now, more than likely, it's probably going to be David Wright. But who else out there deserves to have their number retired? I mean, by the Mets. All-time great Met. And my first thought, right away came to Gary Carter. I loved the catching. I love the catching position. I was a catcher when I played, Little League baseball. Not that, that means anything to anybody. And throughout my baseball career, I didn't play high school baseball. I played Babe Ruth baseball because I felt like I was not good enough to play high school. That's one of the biggest regrets I ever had, was not trying out for the high school teams. I feel like I probably could have made it, but I just had no confidence in myself. But anyway, that's not here nor there. My number's not being retired. But Gary Carter, I think he was a huge part of those the '86 Mets and those Mets of the late '80s. There, some great teams, great Mets teams, and he was one of those guys that they brought in to kind of put them over the hump to get that World Series championship in '86. So, does he get his number retired? He wasn't a Met for very long. I think it was 5 years, maybe, or something like that. So he wasn't a Met very long. But I mean, I think if you ask most people, who did Gary Carter play for, I'd feel like their first answer might be the Mets. Like my first thought is, Mets and Expos. But he also played for a few teams besides that. But Mets and Expos, that's my first two teams I think of. So the Mets are right there. And so I wouldn't be now since Gary Carter retired. I think since he retired, nobody's wore the number 8 for the Mets. It's either since he retired or since he was inducted into the Hall of Fame. I'm not sure which it was, but nobody's wore the number 8 since then. So there's that. So you have David Wright, maybe Gary Carter. Like I said, I'm a big Howard Johnson fan. I'd love to see Hojo's number retired. I don't think he had enough of a statistical career to get it. Again, part of the '86 team, and the few years after that, he had some huge numbers, big home run numbers for the Mets. Provided a lot of pop before he retired. And I also because he was my first favorite Met was Howard Johnson. It was Howard Johnson, then Gary Carter, and then I David Cohn I liked, Brett Saberhagen, guys like that. Then Todd Hundley was my next guy. Like, oh, Todd Hundley. And then they brought Mike Piazza in. I was all pissed off because Todd Hundley wasn't catching anymore. But it was what it was. But David Wright, of course, everybody's favorite Met, the captain. Look at Gary Carter there. Maybe it's Mookie Wilson. That's another guy. I don't think Ray Knight has his number retired. Maybe he's the guy. Ray Knight. So maybe Ray Knight. I don't know, but looking at current roster of guys, who or even in the recent times, of course, Jacob deGrom comes to mind right away. Was it 3 Cy Young awards for the Mets? It was absolutely dominant for a stretch there. Best pitcher in baseball. Does he get his number retired eventually? I think maybe, I don't know. It's the same thing. Yuki, I want the Mets to retire Jacob deGrom. I think they should. I think eventually they will. I think we'll see that 48, hanging on the wall, or wherever the hell they put the numbers nowadays. I do. He was dominant. 3 Cy Youngs. His number should eventually get retired. I'm hoping that it does. I really am. Who else? If Pete Alonso stays the Met, obviously Pete Alonso. Carlos Beltran. What about Carlos Beltran? He had a really good career as a Met as well. Benny Agbayani, just because it's Benny Agbayani. I used to love, when he played for the Mets, it was awesome. Just because it was Benny Agbayani, it was funny. I don't know why. I always got a kick out of the guy. Now, who else? Who else do we have that could potentially have their number retired? I don't know about Francisco Lindor, if he's able over the next few seasons continue on the pace that he's on. Does that put him in that realm there? But maybe I think maybe Carlos Beltran. That seems like it'd be a pretty big name. He was with the Mets, I think, for what, 8 seasons, maybe 7, 8, 9 seasons, somewhere around there. He had a pretty good career, so he was on some pretty decent Met teams as well. I don't think Jose Reyes. Who else? I think that's about it. I can't think of anybody else right now. I mean, I don't know if any of the baby Mets eventually, or anybody in the system right now. Like we won't know that for a couple of years till we see them more often. But I could see definitely David Wright. I think David Wright should be in the next couple of years. But after that, maybe it's Carlos Beltran. Maybe it's Beltran. Maybe Gary Carter. I don't think like a Nolan Ryan or nothing like that because he wasn't a Met very long. The dude played for 45 years, 50 years or something like that. So he played for a few different teams, but the Mets was probably his least tenured team. So yeah, so it's an interesting topic of conversation that you could have, and so I really think who are the great Mets, especially recently, throughout the late '90s, early 2000s, into mid 2000s to now, in the 2020s, who those potential candidates could be. And I do think DeGrom, if Alonso stays a Met, I do think Alonso. Lindor, if he continues on the track that he's on for the next 5, 6, 7 years, I could see Lindor being a possibility, but I think Carlos Beltran as well. And I think definitely Jacob DeGrom. And I can almost guarantee Jacob DeGrom. I just can't see in a world where he would not be, looked fondly upon as a Met. He had a terrific career with the Mets. Some people may say it ended sour with the Mets, between him and the Mets. For whatever happened there, a breakdown in communication, whatever it was, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. He had a great Met career, 3 Cy Youngs. Jacob DeGrom has to be one of those guys. I think Beltran's number should be retired. Yeah, I do, and I don't know. Like he should be. I could be wrong, but from other shows that I've listened to, they said that he should be also a Hall of Famer. I believe he should be a Hall of Famer as well. But I do think that his number should be retired by the Mets, and I thought he should have been the coach of the Mets. I still think he should have been the coach of the Mets, and I don't think Carlos Mendoza is doing a bad job. I think he's doing the best he can with what he has. But I'm going to look up Beltran's numbers right now. Carlos Beltran stats. There we go. Google. Gotta love Google. I mean, he was with the Royals 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 years. Houston that one season. Then with the Mets 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 years. And then one with San Francisco, a couple St. Louis, a couple with the Yanks, Texas, back to Houston. But his stat-wise, and with the Mets, he hit 280. 149 home runs. Yeah, 149 home runs, 559 RBI, 100 stolen bases, 449 walks, an OPS of 869. For the phenomenal there. And overall career, he ended up having 435 home runs, 1,500 RBI, 300 stolen bases, over 1,000 walks, 279 career batting average, an 837 career OPS. Yeah, good stuff there. Yeah, his number should be retired by the Mets. Absolutely. He had the best years of his career there. 7 seasons with the Mets, 7 seasons with the Royals, and he did have more stolen bases with the Royals. But was also caught stealing more too. So there's that. So yeah, I do think Beltran, his number should be retired eventually, and hopefully sooner rather than later. Same thing with David Wright, and I do think Gary Carter. Let me look up Gary Carter real quick, see how long he was with the Mets. I feel like it was 5 seasons, but I could be wrong. Which usually, if you've watched the show enough, usually I am wrong. Yuki Matsui, if you're still watching, who the hell is that second baseman that tore his ACL? Young kid, one of the baby Mets. I cannot think of his name right now. I feel like his last name starts with an S, but I don't know. Yeah, 5 years with the Mets. Gary Carter's 12 years with the Expos. So probably don't see Gary Carter's number retired by the Mets. He was very important to the Mets that win the World Series. But there it is. Ronnie Mauricio. I was way off with the yes. Way off with the yes. I could not think of it. I could picture him. I could picture the kid in my head, tall, lanky kid, long swing, hits the ball like a rocket. I just could not think of his name. I kept thinking Luis Severino. I'm like, I know it's not Luis Severino. He's a goddamn pitcher on our team. Severino, Mauricio. Yeah, maybe I was onto something there. All right, so that's all I have for today. I'm going to go ahead and do my sponsor reads here. Jason Fine, attorney, Big Al. You can reach Big Al at 1-800-HURT-123. That's 1-800-HURT-123. Jason Fine specializes in motor vehicle accidents, slip and falls, workman's comp, and personal injury claims. He has 3 office locations conveniently located throughout Pennsylvania and New Jersey. His office in the Garden State of New Jersey is located in Cherry Hill on 3 Greensward Lane. The phone number there is 856-209-5258. And in the Steel City of Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, the offices are located at 500 Grant Street, Suite 2900. The phone number there is 412-365-8151. And in the city of cheesesteaks and brotherly love, Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, the offices are located at 1628 JFK Boulevard, Suite 2120. The phone number there is 267-888-2980. That's Jason Fine, attorney, Big Al. Head on over to monkeycoldcoffee.com for all your gourmet coffee needs. They have bourbon chocolate chip infused coffee, toasted coconut rum. They have a Sumatran blend, medium roast coffee. They have an organic blend called Perula, Florida, and one of their newest flavors, Golden Honey Agave. Head on over to their swag shop and check out their awesome t-shirts, coffee mugs, cold brew pitcher, tumbler cups, and K-Cup adapter. And don't forget that sweet, sweet Paradise Rum Cake. All that and much, much more at monkeycoldcoffee.com. And be sure to use that promo code at checkout, OOTB Sports, for 10% off your order. That promo code, once again, is OOTB Sports for 10% off your order at monkeycoldcoffee.com. Got a couple more comments before I jet out of here and go to bed. All right, I don't know what this is, but best viewers on YouTube. Okay, I don't know what that is. I think that's like maybe a spam link or some sort of link, and don't click on the links. Yuki says, can I give you an honest answer? Did you hear Jorge Lopez say the Mets are the worst team in the Major League or the worst teammate? I knew I was missing something here. All right. I'm going to keep that up there, actually. So Jorge Lopez, all right, he was threw a little bit of a temper tantrum after he got rocked by the Dodgers. Understandable. You've seen so many different players beat the shit out of water coolers, throw bats, throw gloves, break stuff, throw helmets, blah, 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 whatever. Dude chucked his glove over the netting, untucked his shirt, whatever. Not a big deal. I don't think that's a big deal at all. So where I think got him canned was at the end of the game when he was asked by reporters, a certain question. I don't remember what the question was, but he came out and said that he was either on the worst team or he was the worst teammate in Major League Baseball. So when I first heard it, I heard teammate. All right, I swore I heard teammate, and it's hard to tell because he trails off. He says, I don't know. I don't want word for word verbatim what it was exactly now, but it's something like, I'm on the worst team. And then he kind of muttered something after that. I listened to it. I thought I heard teammate, but here's the problem with it. Here's the problem I have with it, Yuki, is Steve Gelbs. He went and he asked him again. So did you mean team or teammate? And he said both. He said, I'm the worst teammate on the worst team in Major League Baseball. So he kind of doubled down on it. So, I mean, there's that. So that's where I think kind of uh, got him in trouble, was kind of throwing his teammates under the bus. Now, if you want to call yourself shitty, that's fine. But you don't want to be out there calling your teammates shitty. Let them answer for themselves. That's how I look at it. I appreciate the honesty, but he doubled down on it. You can defend him though. There's a language barrier. There's a language gap. He's been pitching in the league long enough where he knows how to speak English. He understands English. He knows how to speak English, and he's been in the league long enough. He should speak better English. And again, I'm not going to get into the whole English speaking, American, blah blah blah. That's not who I am. I'm not going to get into that. But there obviously was some sort of language barrier because Steve Gelbs had to ask again, did you want to clarify your statement? Did you mean team or teammates? And then he said both. He says that I am the worst teammate on the worst team in the league. So, I mean, then you go back and listen to him, like, did he say team or teammate? And you go back and listen again, and it's like, oh, I can hear team now. So it's like one of those things where, you'd see on TikTok, you play a sound and you read the words, and that's what you hear. So I don't know, but he doubled down on it. So he said both. I heard Jorge Lopez is on the worst team in Major League Baseball. So yeah, and then again, the first time I heard it, I listened to it a couple times, and I thought I heard teammate. But then after he doubled down on it, I listened to it again. I'm listening. I'm like, no, I think he said team. So it's hard. It's confusing. But when he doubled down on it, so when he doubled down on it, that made me believe that he said team. Because now he's trying to cover himself, saying, oh, I'm teammate on the worst team, kind of throw himself with his teammates under the bus. Whereas the original statement, he's on the worst team in Major League Baseball, makes it sound like he's above everybody else. That's what it makes it sound like, that he's better than the rest of his teammates. And when you throw your name in with I'm on the worst team, but I'm the worst teammate as well, that makes it sound like you're making yourself equal again. So you hear that, you hear him rebut saying, well, I'm the worst teammate on the worst team. That tells me he said the worst team in Major League Baseball, but now he's trying to kind of backtrack a little bit and saying, yeah, I'm shitty too. So that's what I think. But the first time I heard it, I thought I heard teammate, but then I listened to it again after Steve Gelbs asked him to clarify, because I didn't think there was anything to clarify until Steve Gelbs, and then he said, no, I'm the worst teammate on the worst team. And I'm like, well, what did he really say the first time? I went back to listen to it, like, oh, now I hear team. So it was confusing. It was hard, but it doesn't really matter now. It is what it is. He said what he said, and is it bad that the Mets DFA'd him? No. He wasn't all that great anyway, and we have like 50,000 relievers, so it is what it is. It was just all part of that terrible May, that part of that dismay. That's what it was. Thanks for reminding me of that. I forgot all about it. I wanted to bring it up, but I forgot to write it down. I'm like, oh, I'll remember, but I forgot. Just like Mauricio's last name, I forgot. I was gonna write Mauricio's name down, didn't, and I forgot his goddamn name. So, all right. So you can check me out tomorrow morning. I will be live at 10 a.m. again with Silver and Black Lair LA Kings. I'll be talking Stanley Cup. It should be a relatively short episode. But before that, I will be live with Out of the Box Sports Box Scores. It's something we started doing. We'll be doing mostly during the week, Monday through Friday. We'll try to get it in. We'll try to do it every day, either myself or Paul. We'll read the scores from the night before and the box scores from those. Like I did earlier. If you didn't catch it, I did it about 15 minutes before the show. Like I'll give you a for instance. Like I read the Mets beat Washington last night 9-1. Mets sweep Nats before heading to London. Luis Torrens, 2 home runs. Francisco Lindor, 2 for 5 home run, his 10th of the season. Harrison Bader was 1 for 3, 3 RBI. Mark Vientos and Julio Iglesias added an RBI each. Luis Severino, 8 innings pitched, 7 hits, 1 earned run, no walks, 4 strikeouts. So something like that. So that's how I've been doing it, and I'll continue doing it like that. And I'll be on tomorrow morning again before the Silver and Black Lair LA Kings edition to go ahead and read that off. Then I will be back on Monday, 10 a.m. with the Silver and Black Lair Las Vegas Raiders edition, talking wide receivers and tight ends. So I will not be live this weekend with the Atomic Drop podcast. And I do not think there will be an Atomic Drop podcast this weekend. So be sure to check us out next weekend on the Atomic Drop podcast, where we'll be interviewing the co-owner, CEO of American Excellence Wrestling. So I'm sure that should be a lot of fun. Really dig that promotion. Indie promotion comes around to my area, and they got a lot of great athletes, and they put on a hell of a show. So can't wait to talk to that guy. Antonio, I'm not sure how to say his last name, so I don't want to say it. Starts with an L. There's a whole lot of G's in there and stuff. There's an O. So it's Antonio. I'm just going to stick with Antonio. I can say Antonio. All right, so that's all I have for today. Thank you, everybody, for checking the show out. Thank you to those who commented. And I will see you guys again with Mets talk next Wednesday morning. Maybe, because I see right away. I'm saying that I don't know if it's going to be next Wednesday. We're going to head to the beach possibly Tuesday. And then Wednesday we might go away as well. So it might be maybe a Tuesday. Maybe I'll do Tuesday night next week. So stay tuned. That's all I got to say. Stay tuned. One more comment before I head out. Thank you, Yuki Matsui. Thank you very much for your comments and questions and thoughts. I appreciate it very much. And it helps with the show. It helps very much with the show. I wish I can get more comments to kind of bring up more topics and debate a little bit more, but it is what it is. I got to get better at this first. Yeah, I don't do very well. I feel like I do much better at podcasting, but I'm just an amateur. I don't get paid for it. I enjoy doing it. I enjoy talking Mets. I enjoy talking LA Kings. I enjoy talking Raiders. I enjoy talking wrestling. So I just got to get better at it. I feel like I can do better. All right. Thank you, everybody. And I'll see you guys next week. Let's go Mets.